All right, let's test it. Oh, that works. All right. Hey, thank you so much for joining us today. I sure do appreciate it. My name is Paul Strickland. I'm the general manager of the video business at Vecima. Just a tiny bit of context for Vecima for those of you who may not be aware or be familiar with Vecima. We provide infrastructure for cable and fiber operators all over the world, both on the broadband access side and on the video data plane side. I run the video data plane business. We cover about a little more than 100 million households worldwide. So we provide effectively the entire video data plane for cable companies primarily. If you are an RCN customer here in New York and you have a TiVo box and the pay TV lineup, we're doing all of the acquisition, transcode, ad insertion, private CDN, et cetera, everything south of the user interface. And particularly as we pivot into the direct-to-consumer and OTT space, everything that we do through the lens of quality of experience. And when we think about quality of experience, we really think about it as a function of two things. Number one, obviously picture quality, because that's important. But then number two, effectively the platform performance. So time to first frame, rebuffer rate, et cetera. Those two things come together to form QoE. And it's our belief that QoE is what I call a magic metric. And here's what I mean by that. Good quality of experience for video is a primary driver of customer satisfaction. When it's good, people are very, very happy. It's also a primary driver of customer dissatisfaction when it's bad. And so when you have something that is such a primary driver of satisfaction and dissatisfaction, the theory that we've proven over and over again is that every dollar that you throw at the factors leading into that KPI should throw several dollars back at you. But don't take my word for it. Let's look at some data. I'm going to go through a few quantitative studies that tie QoE to business outcomes. So first, Nielsen did a study as part of their total audience report. Their goal was to determine content being equal, which of course we know that it's not. What are the factors that would drive somebody to either stay with or leave a streaming provider? And of course, you can imagine cost is right at the top. So just forget about cost. Of the remaining factors, 4 of the top 10 are directly related to video quality. And, they were able to come to a few interesting conclusions. They concluded that viewers that experience degradation of just 2 seconds are 10% more likely to churn from that streaming provider. That's a one-time incident. And 7 out of 10 users indicated that they would change their streaming provider if they experienced buffering more than once. It's fascinating to me. So in this world where you no longer have to roll a truck to change providers, it's really important to provide a very, very high level of quality of experience. And when you pull it off, when you provide a superior quality QoE, that really creates a halo effect, not only for your brand, but for the brands that are helping you monetize that content, your advertisers. And in order to demonstrate that, we're going to play a little game. So you all have played this game, I'm sure, in the bar, right? Photo hunt. If you look at the photo on the left, obviously as a viewer, from the perspective of the viewer, I would much rather see the referee. I'd much rather see, the clear and distinct lines. This, by the way, is a fast action freeze frame from the USA versus Canada hockey tournament that happened back in February. For our operators in Canada and for some of the systems that we serve in the northern part of the United States, this event dwarfed the Super Bowl in terms of viewership. So very, very important for advertisers. If I'm the media buyer at Rogers, I have a strong preference as to which logo I want to see on that screen. If I'm the media buyer at Hyundai, at Truly Seltzer, at QuickBooks, at Disney Plus, or any of the other advertisers that paid good money to participate in this tentpole event, there's a clear preference. I want your customers to have a huge QoE. And so that leads into one of the 2 products we're going to talk about today, which is KeyFrame. So KeyFrame, in a nutshell, is the way that we use generative AI to take a source video, improve the source such that you can Reduce bit rate, so reduce your costs, while at the same time improving video quality. So if VQ improvements historically have been kind of a religious decision, you cost money. It's difficult to rationalize the benefit because there are many factors that contribute to churn and customer satisfaction. This is VQ that pays you. And I'm going to, through kind of storytelling, describe how it works. So today you take a source file, whether it's live or whether it's, VOD or whatever it is. And, as you transcode it, you compress it down as much as you reasonably can while maintaining a high level of quality. And, if you freeze frame it and you zoom in, obviously you're going to see some lossiness, right? But in motion, generally it's pretty good. But what if you could use generative AI to take that source file before you transcode it and, vastly improve the source? So do color correction, sharpness, add detail back in that may have been lost during the original encode from mezzanine. The resulting source would have fewer artifacts, more detail, better color. You could send it to your transcoder, which would then have to work a lot less to compress it much, much more. The result would be a higher quality output at a lower bit rate. So if we go back and this just sits right in the middle of your video data plane. So after your source acquisition, right before your transcode, no need to change anything else about your video data plane except perhaps the sizing of your CDN costs, your storage costs, because that all goes down by typically 30 to 50%. We can compress as much as 80%, depending on how important the quality improvements are. So going back to this freeze frame, if you take it from top to bottom, and this is, the hockey and the sports use case is one that we've worked very closely with our operators on. So our partners, Rogers up in Canada, they gave us some really valuable feedback, which we use to inform how we train the model. So in this freeze frame, obviously go top to bottom, you can see much clearer, crisper logos, detail, just a much better experience. And of course, that better experience flows right to the bottom line, right? So, I kind of qualify the benefits here. Two categories of ROI. One, qualitative or faith-based ROI, which is, I believe that if my customers are happier, they're going to churn less. Difficult to prove that that's because of this, right? But then quantitative ROI. This is no longer a religious decision. If I now have improved quality while taking my bit rates down by 30, 40, 50%, that flows to CDN costs, storage costs, transport costs. If you have satellite transport, you can use less transponder lease, right? And so it's video quality, it's VQ that pays you. Going back to kind of translating QoE to the bottom line, Akamai got together with a company that does biometric measurement of emotion. So, skin tension, facial expressions, this sort of thing. And they set up, with using 1,000 viewers, two videos side by side. Group one watched what they called a high quality video. It was UHD, streamed at 5 megabits per second, no buffering whatsoever. Lots of fast action, an engaging clip. Group two, same clip, low quality, 1.6 megabits, 1080p, and then rebuffering occurred during a key scene in the action. The results were very, very telling. So the viewers of the higher quality video, they were 20% more emotionally engaged with that video. The folks that viewed the lower quality video, they had a 16% increase in negative emotions, including a 9% increase in disgust, which I found funny, 7% increase in sadness, also kind of funny, but an 8% decrease in focus. So now going back to focus and engagement. Engagement is how you fight customer churn. Engagement is how you monetize and prove value to your advertisers. And so very, very important. So if you take video quality, so the picture quality, multiply that by performance, that flows right down into viewer engagement, which obviously has a direct impact on your business outcomes. Which brings us to the other product that I want to talk about today, which is our managed IPTV CDN and our open CDN platform. So I mentioned that we serve cable and fiber operators all over the world. Part of the video data plane that we provide is the private on-premise CDN that they use to transport their managed IPTV video, the pay TV package, right? So they have a private CDN on-prem with caches deployed all the way down to the cable head end, for example. As viewership migrates from today, it's 80% pay TV, 20% over the top. As that flips, as it becomes 20% pay TV, 80% over the top, it presents an opportunity for both content providers and the cable and fiber providers to partner up and effectively move caches from the cloud and from internet transit points right down to the subscriber's neighborhood. And we're working with them to effectively do that using the caches they already have in place for their managed pay TV. So today, let's say that you're a sports content provider, that's your logo on the top there. You contract with a public CDN such as Akamai, Fastly, et cetera. And for some operators, for some cable companies, they have caches within the network, and others, they do it at peering points. But, all of that video content has to transit the cable operator's network, the backbone, all the way down to the head end. And it's a one-to-one relationship between that cache and each household. And so during times of peak congestion, delivering tentpole events, it creates congestion, which causes the operator to have to build out more infrastructure. It also causes the viewer to experience congestion, rebuffering. DirecTV recently lost Sunday Ticket. YouTube TV took it over. There have been studies that show that if YouTube TV does with Sunday Ticket what DirecTV used to do, which is basically give it away, use it as an acquisition tool, that traffic alone on Sundays could double peak internet concurrency in the United States. So imagine every cable company, every fiber operator having to double their capacity simply to support Sunday Ticket. So our goal is to take that congestion right out of the network. So using the caches that we already have deployed in the cable and fiber operators networks, we become one of the CDNs that you add to your CDN switch. You still use the public CDNs, but for traffic that goes on net to one of the operators that we serve, you effectively go directly right down to the head end. So this is effectively a way for you to increase QoE while reducing costs, because since the operator has the benefit of not having to build out their infrastructure, we're able to provide that CDN transport to you at a rate that is at or oftentimes lower than what you would pay a public CDN. And again, the benefits are numerous, but we did a real life test of a tier 1 OTT provider on a tier 1 cable operators network. We compared the performance of public CDNs to the locally placed caches. We effectively created an index, 0 to 100, that measured a QoE using a composite of, 6 measures in order of weighting. So rebuffering ratio, video start failures, exit before video start, average time at top bit rate, video start time. And, the public CDN providers, they fared pretty well. The median was 50, and it's not 50%. It's just an aggregate score of 50 on a scale of 0 to 100. 50 is a decent score. Like 95% of customers, they're going to be happy with 50. There'll be a little bit of rebuffering. The start time might not be spectacular, but fine, right? Placing those caches locally increased that score to 75, a 50% increase of the composite QoE score. It's not because our caches are special. We use the same technology, open source, as everybody else does. It's because of where the caches sit. And so this is really an opportunity to improve quality of experience for your users while reducing your costs. So this, combined with the video quality improvements that we can realize through AI, really becomes multiplicative in reducing customer churn and really impacting the outcomes on your network. So we are in the process of deploying this hybrid CDN environment in the United States first. We're focusing on the operators that we serve on the eastern seaboard of the United States for a couple of reasons. Number one, because we have a contiguous footprint. And number two, the population density, obviously, that exists on the eastern seaboard. And then number three, because we believe there are some really interesting use cases that exist for trials particularly related to sports and regional sports networks. So if you think about like Gotham Sports, Messin, this sort of thing, all the way down up and down the coast, some interesting sports use cases that we want to explore. So I would encourage you to visit our booth. 856 is just stone's throw from here, right down that 800 aisle. We have the AI video platform running live. You can see it side by side in motion across a number of different sports and non-sports use cases. It's really spectacular. And we can also speak in depth about CDN transport. We're looking for some pilots, some founding participants in that CDN platform as we roll that out this year. So I'll open up to questions if there are any. Otherwise, I'll thank you again for taking time this afternoon. Sure do appreciate it.